Oh, what a day. What a lovely
Welcome
day.
to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Arwin, 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, Paul, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Let's get it on.
Hello.
Let's get it
Welcome.
on.
Welcome on this
Greetings.
beautiful day.
Greetings.
Good to have you all. Welcome one and all. Is there any
Is it
evidence?
as beautiful weather over at you as it is over here, Nathan?
No, it's quite windy. I've got a
Yeah,
little story about that actually. Maybe I
Oh,
should go into
okay.
that straight away. My daughter gets a quote unquote science lesson on a Wednesday from me, while my younger daughter's at nursery, so it's nice and quiet and I can have her attention. Anyway, today, whilst getting ready to do one of the usual open the science box and get out an observation that definitely hasn't applied the scientific method, she started off by saying that looking at lights in the sky is science, right, Dad? That's what she said to me. I'm like, no, it's not. Let's explain what the scientific method is. So while we're sat in the kitchen looking out the window, one of the things she saw, or as the lesson progressed, I asked her to look out the window and tell me something that was happening. And the thing that my eldest daughter observed was one of the trees is moving. Okay, so I'm like, okay, don't give me stick in the comments if this is loose and without controls, but I'm trying to explain it to a 6-year-old, bear in mind. So I explain, okay, that's your natural phenomena then. Now that obviously progressed through a reasonably concise and short lesson about how the scientific method works with a scientific prediction. So based on the fact that the weather isn't particularly great here, I had the use of a tree moving, and then admittedly the initial independent variable from my 6-year-old was man fishing. So okay, we're going to vary man fishing to see if it causes that tree to sway. Obviously we then got onto wind. But yeah, so that was that was my morning with the crappy weather that we've got, Arwin. But it was useful for detailing the scientific method for not the first time with my 6-year-old, I must admit. But there you go. That's a mild segue. I'm not trying to be a baby bore. But is there any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container?
Just look outside. No, I'm not going to do that again.
But what we would see is various different pressure differentials taking place as gas pressure is introduced. Will those dynamic systems require containment in the first instance in order to have those gas pressure differentials, and wind is one of the byproducts of them? Well, that requires containment to begin with.
It all depends on how you're going to define containment.
A container walls to press on for the gas pressure.
Yeah, but what if they didn't necessarily need those walls and
Show me
still
that.
press?
Okay, well then if I don't want to have it
Look
as a
outside.
supposition. Hold on. I don't want to have it as a supposition from you. Show me that isn't the case, and then we'll go from there. Your time's up.
Well, I
You're not
only
going to
have
do
one
that.
example, and that's like walk outside. You just have to assume it, Nathan. There was always a violation of the second law of thermodynamics because the Earth is a globe.
In the model has a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. The world we live in does not. So to assert that the sky is a vacuum because in the heliocentric model, the black bit around the globe that you're never actually going to get to see is a sky vacuum 10 to the minus 17 Tor that you would be observing from the ground if you reified it. But in reality, we do have natural law. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere. We're not living in the sphere world model. It disobeys a natural law. Well,
Yeah, but
no.
But it's proven that the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the globe.
The globe model.
Isn't that where we live?
No, that's a reification fallacy. The ground isn't the model. No.
Can you reify something that doesn't exist even as a concept?
Well, you'd have a job because you wouldn't know what you were reifying. So definitely not. I don't see where you were trying to go with that, but maybe there was something else more pertinent than me pulling apart its base flaw, which is to say you can't reify something unless you know what it is to reify it in the first instance.
Right. So when they assert that there is a globe model, they don't understand.
Clever. Oh, I like it. Oh, John, you're ace. That's smart, that is. Check out the after show, which has now changed schedule, and I won't go through the boring details, but if you remember, you can check out the conversation in the pre-show, which makes that incredibly clever. Yes, that's right. They haven't got a model to show you. Well, if they haven't got a model to show you, they've just got claimed to be pictures, paintings, and CGI. What is it that they actually reify? Because when you get into the nitty-gritty of it, they'll give you scraps and models and graphs and, you know, mathematical equations and derivations. They won't give you the actual model. That doesn't exist. There is no globe model. So what John's saying is, what are they actually reifying? Please share the show, by the way. Smash the share button. 50 people watching. Woo! Only been going 7 minutes. Happy days. Hope the number's better than yesterday.
Are we talking about globe?
Definitely. Probably on Thursday. I think that's how the schedule will go anyway, Neil. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Hang on.
It's
Back
over
to
there.
natural law. Isn't there a phrase, nature abhors a vacuum?
Yeah. The world we
And-
live in would have the gas we are breathing fill the availability of volume, i.e. a sky vacuum if there was one.
Nature might abhor a vacuum, but it doesn't mean that it can't still learn to live with it.
hang on. Hang on.
It's not
Do you-
a horrible ex-wife that's still got the keys to the house and you can't afford to get separate places. It's a law of nature as opposed to a tyrannical ex-Arwin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hang on, Arwin. So now to have a vacuum, wouldn't you still need a container?
Yeah.
Okay, so nature abhors the vacuum. So violation of natural law to have gas pressure next to a vacuum. But if you wanted a vacuum, you can have nature with second law of thermodynamics because you need a container just to have a vacuum.
Yeah, you can't have a vacuum without a container either. But the sky is claimed to be a vacuum and the gas pressure we are breathing is claimed to be containerless. That just doesn't work in reality. But that's the basis of the heliocentric worldview that a lot of the Western world hold currently. Hence, we have an evergreen subject here on Flat Earth Debate. Please share the show. Smash the share button now.
Right. So visually for the audience, you have just say two containers. One's got gas pressure in it. That's what we live in. And the other one's got no gas pressure or so little it's just minuscule. And they're right next to each other, two containers. But NASA says they leave this one container and go to the next container.
Okay, we're going to be doing yet another video by Voice of Reason.
Yeah, I guess he trumped what I just said, but yeah, I guess so.
I don't get
This is the last one, thank goodness.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I won't moan because you go to such efforts to provide me with these videos and I essentially do nothing except click on the link and then immediately respond to it without having watched it before, which is wonderful. But it'd be just nice to have somebody that was a bit less of a nobody with only 24.4 thousand subscribers. I mean, what a total nobody.
Hang on now. I told you from the beginning, this was Eli's request for part one. And I saw part one and I went and I saw the other part two and part three. So the guy to be in context, we have to do all three. I'm just the middleman here.
Right. I mean, yeah. But like I say, it'd be nice if we had somebody to cover that had a few more subs. On a slightly different note, I'm only 50 subscribers short of 25,000, which is enormous. I mean, that's fantastic. That's such a milestone. So, you know, share the word, spread the show. Let them know. Subscribe today, Nathan Oakley 1980. And obviously, we need to actually cover this guy because he might, if he were to ever respond, put a link to my video like I'm doing for him now. So go and let him know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The link's going by to this video. And if you're listening for whatever reason without video, which some people do, then this video is called Proving the Earth is Not Flat Part 3, The Moon. So the link's going by in the live stream chat. If you want to just pop along now, maybe let him know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a nice comment so it doesn't get removed. Okay, Should we get into this?
This is part 3 in the series, Proving the Earth is Not Flat. The goal of this series is to show you how you can prove to yourself, with your own observations and experiments.
Yeah, like with part 1 and part 2, this guy doesn't know what science is, so don't lend any credence to his use of these scientific-sounding words. When he says experiment, it won't be.
That the Earth is a sphere. Today, we will look at the Moon. It is important to understand a number of facts about the Moon.
There we go. It's important you understand, and let's have a list of begging the question assumptions that we must understand before we move forward. What the hell's going on?
Sorry, that was me.
Well, go on then. Bloody hellfire.
I just wanted to say he's going to teach us how Earth is not is a sphere, but he says let's look at the moon. Why don't we talk about Earth being a sphere instead of looking at the moon?
I don't know, Neil. Anything else? Is that it?
So that I can show
I
you
just
how
found it funny.
Fair enough.
our observations of it can demonstrate that the
We've got German subtitles again. What the hell? Some funny business going on here. Check it out. I've got German subtitles again.
You're teaching foreign languages simultaneously?
I don't know, but I just... Good job on paying attention.
the Earth is a sphere, and how it can only work within the heliocentric globe model.
Globe model. It can only work. Work makes... There's some physical implications to that word. Right, work, as in do things, put to practical use in the physical world that we live in. No. The model is a way of describing the world that we live in, and it's got its flaws, like the second law of thermodynamics. We don't live on a model. That's a reification fallacy. Now, as much as I appreciate the support, Elvis Kavovic, telling Neil to shut up via a super chat isn't very friendly, is it? Let's be honest about that. Neil is my everyman here. He has a voice and is entitled to use it. But thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. He says, shut up, Neil. Sorry, just check if I read that right. Shut up, Neil. Yeah, I did read that one right. Okay, shout out to Godzilla.
I didn't hear that. Hang on, I didn't hear that. Can you read it again?
It says, shut up, Neil.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
It was paid for, so it's only reasonable. I'll make sure I read it right. Go ahead.
I do appreciate he's trying to read. I do appreciate he's trying to reify something. I just want to know what he is trying to reify, what model he thinks he has.
An idea, it's his belief. He thinks he's got a model. In reality, he's just got a belief that he's got a model. Shout out to Godzilla37. It says, genius abhors consensus because when consensus is reached, thinking stops. Stop nodding your head. Best quote from Einstein. That is a good quote. Genius abhors consensus because when consensus is reached, thinking stops. Stop nodding your head. End quote. Best quote from Einstein. Really good. Thank you for the super chat, the Godzilla37. Well, they're rolling in. Lots of super chats. Shout out to Skeptic936 who says, Neil is the man. Neil is the man. He's our everyman. Shout out to D-Rose also.
That's correct.
That is correct indeed. Correctamundo. Shout out to D-Rose says, had no clue shows went on since Monday. Missed you all. All right. Did you think that I was completely cancelling the show?
That's Nathan. That's correct. The mundo, not mundo.
Correct. Mondo.
Mundo.
Mundo. Correct. The mundo.
I usually say correct the mungo.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we did this. That was fun.
And not in any flat Earth model.
Which model are you saying it's not in? You know, you're going to gather up all of them and show this isn't going to be occurring in all of them. Oh, no, it's a baseless assertion and generalization fallacy. My bad.
The moon is a sphere.
Is it? Prove that. How'd you prove it? You just made an assumption, right? How do you know it's a sphere? It's not by even your own estimations in your own model. Close enough to apply your binocular vision with your two eyes to it to get any sort of depth to it. And you're looking at it through telescopes. Well, that's not binocular vision either. So, unless you're going to assert maybe libration to have an inference that it has a form of sphericity by the way the light's coming off it, but then I'd need to know all sorts of factors about how the light was coming off it. In terms of specular reflection, your descriptions in the heliocentric model of how it's reflecting the sun's light do not work. So I'm going to need to know all of those things before I make the assertion that it's a sphere. Now, I don't know that it isn't. Just want to get that in clear. I might add that to my... This will please the heliocentrists in terms of how my daughter, eldest, is getting educated. Just drop this in at the end. At the end of the lesson for the heliocentric model, I reminded her that she started off the lesson by asserting that looking at lights in the sky was science. And I asked her explicitly, do you now believe, knowing what you do about cause and effect, hypothesis construction, and scientific experimentation, that looking at the lights is science? And correctly so, she answered, no. Then she said, the lights in the sky are not planets. And I stopped her, prick your ears up, heliocentrists, and said, you don't know that either. I said, did you put that through the method to prove that they aren't planets, as described by heliocentrists? And she said, no. I said, so it's unreasonable to go around declaring that someone's belief in planets, lights in the sky, isn't true unless you've disproven it for your own satisfaction. Now, I was, but didn't, intending, and I will when she's older, to go on to explain that you challenge it based on the validity of the claim being offered. Now, for Eleanor, I drum into her the value of primary source research continually. She is nothing else. But in this instance, I'm trying to focus on her understanding of the scientific method, and an assertion that the lights in the sky are or are not planets isn't necessarily part of the scientific method in terms of whether you can answer that question, because it's a concrete noun based on a just so story as opposed to a natural phenomena. But when they twinkle, you might be able to put it through the method. And in this instance, it's not reasonable to say that I do not know, or more accurately, the moon isn't spherical, because I don't know that's the case either. I don't know it's not the case. But this declaration, without any evidence whatsoever, it seems, and is, totally unreasonable, based purely on his faith of heliocentrism's declarations of it being a spherical item. Shout out to D-Rose, who says, I didn't think you identify... I don't know why it is with D-Rose's super chats that I struggle to read them. Didn't think indefinitely cancelled shows. Thought the technical issues were still going on and delayed you longer, so great. Have you all 100% back? Yeah. No, the technical issues hadn't changed at all. So while I did ramp up my e-begging and actually did achieve my ends, so as of before the end of last week, mostly Paul just dropped a wedge on me by PayPal, and because he dropped a wedge and I had got a little bit extra already being paid out by Give Send Go, the combined amount was the same as 2 on eBay. So I just immediately ordered them, and they came yesterday. And I actually rewired them a little bit this morning just before the show. That's why we were a little bit late. So yeah, there was a technical issue, but that was always the case. I just tentatively stressed the fact that I was having technical issues because they'd been going on for ages, and everyone had lost interest. So everyone pricks their interest at when you go, right, there's going to be no shows because I'm running on the bare bones of equipment. Strictly not true. I could have done another show. I was actually celebrating my youngest daughter's birthday. But there we go. All that happened, or all that changed, was nothing other than me stressing the fact that I was having technical issues, which have now been resolved. But I am extremely grateful, as I detailed in yesterday's Uncut and at the beginning of yesterday's live show, extremely happy that I get the support that I do, so I can resolve technical issues like that at a pinch and just move on. And you can probably tell from my attitude today, I'm really happy, right? Because I haven't woken up and gone to the amp and gone, is this going to go bang? Is this going to work? Come on, work. Come on. I didn't do that. Just turned them on. It was great. Thank you for the super chat, though, D-Rose. Sorry we've gone off on such a crazy side track.
Back to the moon. Back to the moon. Can I ask you a question? We're told that we only see one side of it. Is that true?
Not exactly. If you look at libration in terms of how the apparent revealing of more sections of the moon, I think you could argue that you can see 56 or 7% of it as an assumed sphere as the light moves from one side to the other through the phases. So in other words, let's assume it is a sphere. What you would be observing is the slight back side of it at the beginning of the moon phases, and then an extra couple of percent on the other side of it towards the end of the phases. So if you superimposed all of them, this is where you can, your argument starts to require a bit of extrapolation. If you took all of the images and sort of sandwiched them together, you'd see that you've got more than one face of a flat circle. Yeah? More like you're seeing 57% of a sphere. So that I don't decry the libration argument, is what I'm saying. And when you say we only see one face, there's a bit more to it than that.
Yeah, I didn't say this. It's what I read. It's what I read them saying.
I'll tell you this. We only experience the moon in one way, and to say we see a certain percentage would be a claim, and I wouldn't get behind that.
That is the claim. That's the libration claim.
Yeah, I wouldn't get behind it.
But the assertion within the claim is based on the premise that it is a sphere as assumed, and what you're seeing of the exposed sides of the sphere is more than just one flat face of a flat circle. Now, if you extrapolate it out with the assumption that Earth's a sphere and the Moon's a sphere, you could make that inference. Now, the fact that we debunked the aspects of Earth's sphericity in relation to the Moon doesn't mean, it's back to me highlighting why I detailed this to my eldest daughter. I don't know what the Moon is. So can I categorically say it's not a sphere? No, I see that as just as unreasonable, to be perfectly honest. I don't know. I'm not going to say it is. I'm not going to say it isn't. I'm going to say I don't know. But when someone offers me evidence for its sphericity, in the case of libration, I find it mildly compelling. That's all I'll say.
I take the stand. I say take the stand. I don't know what it is, because I cannot get there to validate what it is. I don't care about libration.
Well, that's the thing. If you've not seen 100% of it, how do you know what percentage you are seeing?
Exactly, John.
Perfect. 100 people watching. Woohoo! Much better than yesterday. I don't know why yesterday's show was so underwhelmingly watched, but it was for some reason. So hopefully today won't be the same, and you'll all smash that share button and we'll get to 120, 125 people. Might even have an extended live show. You never know your luck. Especially as I'm in a really good mood.
That orbits the Earth about once every 27 days. Some flat earthers will claim that the moon is a flat disk.
Really? Show me somebody claiming it's a flat disk. Who's claiming that?
I never did.
I didn't claim that.
He did say some, and I'm sure you could find an idiot out there that would claim that. He is a flat earther.
Okay, so therefore it's a stereotyping fallacy. Fine.
Well, I don't know. He said some.
Well, I'd argue unless you at least examples 3, I'm not going to accept that in any way, shape, or form. Some would be, okay, here's 3 examples. Yeah, at that point, some is okay. If you show 2 examples, a couple of flat earthers say the moon's a flat disk. Okay. I'm going to need more than nothing, which is what he'll provide.
In the sky, or some sort of projection, or even a hologram. All of these are absurd and easily refuted by the evidence.
Maybe so. So, are you going to refute them?
The fact that there are many different explanations...
Yeah, no, that's not a refutation. Offering up more explanations doesn't refute anything. If somebody has said the moon's a hologram, I'd go, okay, what have you got to prove that? That's what I'd say. I wouldn't say, there's so many other explanations, that's instantly debunking your claim that it's a projection. I don't know either way still. Like I wouldn't decry it being a sphere because I don't know. I don't know that it's not a hologram or a projection. I just assess it based on the standard of evidence. You've hand-waved it based on there being lots of other explanations. That's useless. It's called a hand-wave dismissal.
And again, I use the term loosely, for the moon within the flat Earth community should tell you something. There is only one explanation in the heliocentric model, the right one. But how do we know the moon is a solid sphere? Because no matter where you are on the Earth, when you look at the full moon, it is always circular.
What? So what that proves that that proves it's solid? What? So if I shine a torchlight up on the roof of my house, you're going to tell me that the light itself is something physically solid because it's circular? That's useless. That's a complete non sequitur.
Only a sphere looks round from all vantage points. If it were a flat disk, a light, or projection circling above the flat Earth, just a few thousand miles up, it would appear to look elliptical as it moves away from us.
Yeah, but that disproves that it's not a flat circle. So, okay, yeah, I'll give you credit where credit's due. For the couple, maybe few, maybe several flat earthers that say it's a circle, you've disproved that. Okay, good on you. Well done. That doesn't prove its sphericity, though.
Like this, because our viewing angle would change.
Yeah, we got that. We got that.
Okay, hang on. What's the title of this third video?
Proving the Earth is not flat, part 3. This is proving the moon is not flat.
Part 3 is the moon is not flat.
No, Earth. But even though he's saying this proves Earth is not flat, what he actually means is by straw man stereotype fallacy, a couple of flat earthers say the moon is flat and circular, and it's not. So,
Right,
as I said,
but
it's a total non sequitur to the claim in the title.
Well, this is what he did in the first one. He took forever to get to the point, but he just dribbled. He's dribbling now all about the moon, which I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a sphere. I don't care if it's a disk. I don't care if it's a hologram. What's it got to do with Earth being not flat?
He's saying flat earthers are wrong when they, by stereotyping fallacy, say the moon is flat. Therefore, flat earthers in general being wrong means Earth's a sphere, because he's made the declaration that there is only one other explanation. So it's also a false dichotomy fallacy. He's saying one option, flat Earth, circular, wrong. Other option, and only other option, because it's correct, globe Earth. Therefore, spherical moon, therefore globe Earth, affirming the consequent. Shout out to Retro Bill for the super chat. He says, please apply this payment towards my Flat Earth Union dues. Will do. Already been done. Thank you for the super chat.
Can he start giving us proof of a sphere instead of looking at the moon?
We'll see.
Also, as I pointed out in part 1, it would shrink and disappear as it moved away. Like,
yeah, you're labouring the point here. You've had your credit. You've disproved the few or however many you haven't cited flat earthers that say the moon is a circle. Okay. Yeah, this doesn't prove Earth is a sphere. It doesn't disprove Earth as a flat plane. It disproves and only disproves the assertion by non-cited sources that the moon is a circular pancake.
Like this, if it were only due to perspective, as flat earthers claim.
So cite them, show them, and then disprove them. Like we're disproving you as an individual. You know, when you get things wrong as an individual, we'll correct you. We won't say it's the heliocentric model that's wrong.
It never does this. It slides behind the horizon at the same shape and size as it was when it was overhead.
Wowee. Proving what? No,
Well,
no, it
that's not
doesn't prove
true.
anything. Just disproves the assertion made by a handful of people you didn't cite that it's a flat circle. Okay, well done.
That's not exactly true either, because we've all seen moon rising, huge. 5-6 minutes later, it shrinks. Why? Because it's right there in the horizon where all the density compression is. So it's not always the same size, even that when it goes away, if it hits the horizon.
A plug. So we got.
Can I ask him? Can I ask him real quick?
You can, and
I
then I'll
don't
do a plug.
I'm not knocking anything, but in my 56 years of life, I've never seen the moon so-called rise or set. I got to look for that. I either catch it when it's already up there, or whether it's daytime or nighttime. But I actually gotta. That's something I heard y'all talking about. That I was like, wow, it actually does that as like the sun does. I guess it should, being that these things travel, they circumnavigate around the plane. But I gotta look for that. Is there a specific time of the evening where you can catch that,
No,
or day, or
It's
whatever?
It's usually a full moon when it's happening.
contextually, no. I've never seen that at the horizon.
Okay.
So at the horizon, I've not seen
Yeah.
the moon rise. I've seen plenty
Yeah.
of sunrises. I'm answering you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
answer you, D-Rose.
Thank you.
Yes, at the horizon, I've not seen that, and it's very difficult to find as well if you search for it. If you search for moonrise at the horizon, there might be some NASA stuff that's taken from high altitude that I've been shown that looks very unconvincing. But as far as just the average Joe catching a moonrise at the horizon, it's not that common. As
I've seen
opposed
it.
to, I'm nearly there, as
Sorry.
opposed to seeing it coming over the local geometric, non-geometric, whatever you want to call it, horizon. So if you've got a tree line, then yeah, you can easily induce a moonrise above that local horizon. Anyway, I'm just going to do a quick plug. This is Refracted Philosophy channel. If you're not already subscribed to Refracted Philosophy, which is relatively new, then go and subscribe today. But he's going to have a special running in a day and a half, so later on tomorrow evening. So I've put the link to this. If you haven't already subscribed, subscribe now. Refracted Philosophy channel. So the 420 special is going to be coming out in 32 hours' time from wherever you may be. So it's 11 o'clock for us here in the UK tomorrow. So check it out. Be here or be sphere. Link running by in the live stream chat right now.
But
Building your online
Thank you
business?
for answering that, Nathan, because you built.
Go on.
Thank you for answering that because you basically, and I know I didn't ask that question or even plug in to say anything to trigger you to say that appropriate answer, but you basically made me feel like, okay, man, I'm not the only one that's never seen it. Literally, I'm being 100%.
Yeah, well, it's not uncommon. It's a good question. You know, it's worth answering. I mean, I'm sure there'll be people now watching the show. Woohoo! 106 people watching. Someone's going to go, all right, I'll just Google Moonrise and see what you come up with. Well, I encourage you to do so. Anyway, gifted one membership from Goldie, and Psych Bear got it. So thank you very much for gifting memberships out there. I really appreciate it. People get to see the Uncut and After Show without worrying about stupid scheduling. Anyway, thank you for the gifted membership, Goldie. Really appreciate your support. Why is there no sound from it? Oh.
Circular craters appear increasingly elliptical as they approach the edges, and exactly in the right direction, due to the curvature of the moon's spherical surface. The moon's phases are caused by the light of the sun reflecting off the moon.
Wrong. Specular reflections, look it up. That would debunk that assertion in terms of the even light that you've got on the moon. It cannot be a reflection from the light from the sun. That is impossible. Oh, wow. Just got £100 super chat from Tony. Today's been a fantastic show from a financial point of view. Thank you so much, Tony. Keep crushing it, one and all. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. And we'll continue right now.
As the moon revolves around the Earth,
by way of begging the question fallacy, and by the way that light is debunked by specular reflections, I'm going to say no. This begging the question fallacy will not fly.
we see it at different angles in relation to the sun's light.
Wrong. Specular reflections. Look it up.
The moonlight takes on a series of shapes as it goes through its monthly cycle. You can see with a simple demonstration that any sphere lit from one side and viewed from different angles will take on these shapes.
However, you're begging the question of this bit. The view from Earth, I can say fine, other than this new moon that doesn't exist. But with the exception of that particular part of a view of nothing, because a view of a new moon isn't a view of anything, you've got this bit. This is the bit you need to prove. Yeah? You need to prove that the Earth is a spherical shape that you're assuming when you give this description given to you by the church.
Also, it's important to remember that the sun is about 400 times farther away than the moon.
Wrong. We can debunk that assertion. You'd need an R value and Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion right on time when I say it's come from the church. It's come from a Jesuit priest. It's come from Kepler at the behest of the church to better understand when Easter would be. That's how you have your elliptical motions. That's where this model reification that you are employing has come from. Well, that doesn't give you a value for a distance to the sun or moon. It's a scale that's been applied by way of an assumption that Venus has the same size radius as Earth, debunked by the Black Swan in 2020. Now, that assumption of Earth's radius transposed onto Venus to give you an application of Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion to give you the scale and distance only works if you've got an R value for a sphere Earth that you can prove. And you can't. We've debunked it. So these baseless assertions are just that, because the claimed evidence to back them has been debunked. No, you don't know the distances to the moon. No, you don't know the distances to the sun.
So sometimes the lighted side doesn't look like it points directly to the sun, but you have to think three-dimensionally to see that it does.
Oh, I see. So it doesn't work the way it perhaps could, but if you think outside the box and look back at Earth as a sphere from a position you're not standing on, then it works. Way to declare how it doesn't work. It's a model. A model for predicting the movements of the lights in the sky. It is not for you to reify you looking back at Earth as a sphere. That's not what it's for. It's to predict when Easter comes. Kepler, yeah? Jesuit priests. The church. Knowing when Easter is.
Some flat earthers think the phases of the moon are supposed to be caused by the Earth's shadow. That is wrong.
Right? You think that flat earthers think that Earth, in a heliocentric model that causes shadows on the moon, causes a shadow on the moon. You're not going to cite this, but this glaring baseless assertion and stereotyping fallacy is now going to cut to a pizza pie causing a flat line on the moon, I don't doubt.
The shadow we normally see on the moon is just the moon's own shadow, the side that is shaded because it is away from the sun. This is...
No. You need to cite these people. You need to show this, because this is just crap. You're making this up. Unless you can show me somebody saying this.
This is very different from lunar eclipses.
Oh, so moving on past the baseless assertion and stereotyping fallacy.
When the Earth's shadow is seen on the moon.
We are just going to automatically assume that because the stereotyping fallacy has flat earthers assuming it's a shadow and the heliocentric model assumes it's a shadow, we're all in agreement, nod, it's a shadow. No. No, I don't accept that it's a shadow. Prove it's a shadow before you make the assertion that you're fighting against flat earthers who also think it's a shadow from Earth. I dare you to find one. Show me that person.
More on that later.
Oh, no, definitely not. Just moving on again. This guy's a complete wanker. How dare you stereotype me with this garbage without any citation?
Some flat earthers will claim the moon gives off its own light, rather than reflecting the sun's light.
Again, I don't know that's not the case, but if somebody claimed that, I'd ask them to justify their belief in that. I'd ask them to give me some evidence of what the moon actually is. Yeah, that's what we do. So while some flat earthers might do this, maybe you could cite them and then take them, like I'm taking this guy, VoysovReason, apart based on what he as an individual says, and how it is or isn't correct within the model he's claiming, and how that claim within the model is or isn't correct based on reality. That's what I'm doing. But what is this wishy-washy some flat earthers? This dick, VoysovReason, says we have shadows on moon. Yet you have said that, you have claimed that. I don't claim that. So where are these some flat earthers? What I have done is taken apart what you have claimed. Now, if it's a heliocentric claim and accurate to within the heliocentric claim, we'll take that apart too. That's what we do. Yeah? I don't go around saying, some globe-head dicks, blah, 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 and then pull apart that claim. It's a straw man, stereotyping, baseless assertion fallacy. You're just full of them, VoysovReason. It's irritating. You know, I couldn't bear to get through your other two videos to their entirety, and I probably won't be able to bear this one either, because it's very irritating. Cite some sources. Take apart people based on what they have said, like I'm doing to you.
This is simply impossible. What mechanism could possibly explain how a big rock gives off light?
How the hell do you know it's a big rock? What, are you stereotyping your opponent that doesn't exist with them also saying it's a big rock? Where it's only you that's claiming it's a rock. In a sky vacuum, floating around. It's absolutely and utterly absurd. Rocks don't fly around in vacuums. This stupid shit is your claim that it's a rock. Now, I would assert that rocks don't behave the way that you have them behaving in a heliocentric world, in a vacuum. And I can demonstrate that not being possible to replicate. Now, your belief that it is a rock is just that. You, an individual called VoysovReason by way of YouTuber naming. That's you, one guy. Yeah? Now, the heliocentric model has it as a rock. Also. But that would put it in a sky vacuum that we can debunk, making the assertion false on every level. Hello, Adam.
Afternoon, everyone.
which just
Are we still
happens to
talking about
move
the
across
moon?
the surface.
Yeah, that's the name of the video. The title of this video is Proving the Earth is Not Flat, Part 3, The Moon. But yes, we are still talking about the moon until I get irritated with this very lengthy 20-minute video. I'm already irritated. We're only 3 minutes and 35 seconds in.
In a pattern corresponding to the direction of the sun. And when the moon is less than full,
That's not true either. You just told us that's not the case. In order to make it the case, you've got to think outside the box, move away several thousand miles, if not several 100,000 miles away from your model of a heliocentric world with the moon moving around it. Then you can make it match up if you think three-dimensional. You just told us that. But now you're going to just completely go back on what you've explained to be the case by saying, no, that is the case from our vantage point. It doesn't work. The angles don't match up. They do if you extrapolate it out from a third position, looking back at Earth.
it is easy to see
In your model that you reify, I might add.
shadows in its
How
craters.
do you know they're shadows? How have you proved this? Have you put yourself in a position where one thing's occulting another to prove it's a shadow? No.
And on the side of its mountains, proving that the light is external. The moon
No, specular reflections debunk that assertion.
cannot be its own light source. It cannot work. It makes no sense. And
No. Based on me exempling specular reflections and how they work, it couldn't be reflecting the sun's light. That's an example with a demonstration. Evidence to back up what I say. What you're just doing is spewing.
has no plausible mechanism. The
I
evidence
don't need to explain the mechanism. I'm not making a claim about it. You are. You claim it's reflecting sunlight. I can debunk that. Specular reflections.
all shows that the moon is a big, reflecting,
Wrong. Definitely not.
spherical rock.
No, I don't accept your assumption that it's spherical. I need more evidence than just libration, which you didn't cite. Beyond that, you didn't cite anything else. You told me to take myself off Earth and look back at Earth as a sphere as you assume it. That was your evidence. Garbage.
When we look at the moon from anywhere on Earth, we see the same face of it, with the same distinctive craters and large dark areas called mare. This is because the moon rotates at the same rate that it revolves around the Earth.
As demonstrated by what? Have you proved that Earth's a sphere and we have these orbital motions assumed by Kepler? These motions that you're describing were assumed by a priest.
It does this because the pull of the Earth's gravity caused a
Gravity doesn't pull anything. It's not a force. It can't pull. Quote, George Musa, gravity is not a force. End quote. Quote, Professor Brian Cox. There isn't really a force of gravity at all. End quote. So what are you talking about? What's pulling? There's nothing to pull. It's not a force.
a slight bulging of the moon.
Go on.
I was just saying, like, a lot of these videos that we're reviewing, they all sound like they're talking like cartoon characters, and they're just obviously reading from a heliocentric script. But they've all got this same tone, like they're in a cartoon.
That's
like
'cause they are.
Going up.
They are
Yeah, they are,
in a
yeah.
cartoon. He's literally showing you a cartoon.
Yep, exactly. And you know what else? You mentioned it. It's amazing how that one, the Chopra guy that did this back in, I forget what, 20th century, 19 something. And this guy is not even a, quote, scientist or a, quote, astrophysicist or, quote, astronaut or anything, but he's a clergyman, white-collar clergyman who makes this claim and assertion that gets published, and it took off, and everybody rides with it. So, which reinforces the claim that this is a religion. That's all it is. It's a heretical, faithful, dogmatic propaganda. Period.
And gradually, that slowed the moon down until its rotation rate, relative to the Earth, reached 0. This is called tidal locking, and it is not unique to our moon. It occurs in most of the large moons in our solar system as well. And
No, you're just assuming this crap. Yeah? The way you've got tidal locking also comes with the story of Thea, which I'm not going to go through now. Yeah, the debris of collision. Seems like I am going to go through it. From a different planet, and the debris going into an orbital motion, assumed by Kepler, to then be in tidal locking. That's the debris from us, being the moon. You can't prove any of this at all. And the evidence standard is a cartoon with a smiley face on it. That's your standard of evidence. This cartoon. It's pathetic.
And also the planet Mercury.
What? Really? Planet? Why would you make these assumptions?
The moon is about 239,000 miles from Earth.
You'll need R for that. We've already covered this. You don't know the distance to the sun. It's just right on time, right on cue. Every time I mention Kepler and the church and the priesthood and the people trying to predict when Easter would be based on the movements of the lights, we get to this assertion with a distance value at 239,000 miles. Yet you'll need an R value to make that assumption so that you can imply that Kepler was right. The church were right in terms of their predictions of when these lights would appear in the sky. Yeah, well, based on that, you'll need the R value superimposed onto Venus so that you can assume that this priest was correct when he described his elliptical motions of these lights in the sky for his predictions of when Easter would come. But the value needs R. We've debunked it. There's no tangent point horizon to derive an R value for a spherical Earth with the physical limitation to your view for boats to fall over on a globe being below the surface level we actually navigate and measure. That's never going to happen. So no.
In most diagrams of the Earth and Moon, you will see them close together, like this.
What about the photos of Earth from space? Oh, you don't have any. They're a sky vacuum-based claim from a priest's assumptions of a motion of a light in the sky with a superimposition of an R value we debunked into 2020 onto Venus to give you the scale, to give you these numbers. Yeah, we can debunk all of that, my friend. Every single bit of it. Wow, the super chats have been absolutely astronomical, and there's over 100 people watching, which is glorious. Shout out to Retro Bill. Your Excellency, please apply this payment towards a flat Earth indulgence. Okay, I'll see if I can do that. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Retro Bill. Really appreciate these really heavy-hitting super chats today. I don't know why I deserve it, but I'm grateful for it. I can tell you that much. Thank you very much.
That
You're
means
all
you've got
ace.
to take us to the pub.
That was
Is that what it is?
Come
Take
on,
you all
Adam.
out for beer.
that's it.
I can
No,
buy
that was
at least 3 beers in today's money with £50, right?
And we
That
can
was
split
a
a bag of
refer-
peanuts.
And a
That'll
bag
do.
of maybe half a bag of peanuts. You're right.
I think that was a reference for the Catholic Church selling indulgences.
Yeah, I got the reference. It was good. Thank you, Retro Bill. Very clever.
But this is not nearly the correct scale. When drawn to scale, we see that the moon is way out in the distance, about 30 times the width of the Earth away. This is why we are able to see the same face of it from everywhere on Earth.
But if we draw it this distance with us several 100,000 miles away from both of them, when did we get this view? Oh, it's just the cartoon based on Kepler. Yeah, this priest.
Terrible logic.
Yeah, terrible. Go ahead, Adam.
Statement that if something's far away, that's why I can only see one face of it. He's not backing his statements up much, is it?
No.
I just wanted to add one thing, is the presupposition that comes with this description of the moon keeping its face, the wording they use to describe it, which is tidal locking to invoke something else. I don't know whether he'll use it later. Always found that a strange description. Totally because
At that distance, our angle of view is essentially the same from all locations on Earth. How do we know it's that far away? Well,
Hang on, did he say angle of it?
He said our angle of view is the same from all locations on Earth. That is
And
not
what's
true.
an angle?
Hold on. That
What's
is
an angle from Earth?
Well, the angle measured would be an elevation angle, so it'd require a flat plane.
Well, I thought this video was going to use the moon to prove the Earth wasn't flat, and he just said the angle of it from Earth.
That's a
He
flat
just
Earth
debunked
proof.
himself.
He's just proved a flat Earth. The angle measurement would require the establishment of a horizontal baseline to get the angle. In this respect, its position above the horizon being the thing utilised to get the aspect of flatness to give you an angle. That's 2 straight lines, not 1 curved line and 1 straight line. So if you say the angle in the diagram we just had up, it's the same from a spherical Earth. Number 1, you can't get an angle from a spherical Earth, you clown. That's 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex. You'd need a flat plane for that angle to the moon. Secondly, if you drew out a tangent plane on a sphere Earth and drew out the angle at any distance and moved to the other side of that circle, you will change the angle to the moon. That's a fact. Mathematically, it doesn't matter how far it is. You could say, oh, it's only a tiny amount. Yeah, it's changed though, hasn't it? Yeah, doesn't matter about the quantity of change. Qualitatively, if you move in the diagram he gives, the angle will change. That's a fact.
Is he now going to link up to libration, do you think? And
I don't know. He hasn't got to it yet. I preempted it, and he hasn't got to it yet.
I'm just curious as to whether he's going to try to show that as a ball Earth proof. How he's going to, again, the variation in the light in the sky, how that demonstrates that the surface is standing on is flat. I don't get it.
I'm confused about what you're postulating he might do now, because you said flat globe Earth proof. Well, that's thrown me right off. Do you mean globe moon proof? Don't you mean globe moon proof?
It doesn't even prove that, does it?
You can infer it. I don't mind that if that's what you're suggesting he might do. But if you're suggesting that the inference of a spherical moon by way of libration, weak though it may be, actually infers the globe surface, that's a stretch too far.
No, totally. Well, I'm just wondering how he's going to link the two, because this is titled, it's proving the Earth is not flat, not ponderances of the moon.
Okay, well,
the voice of retard. Hold on a second. The voice of retard wiki parroter said that the angle, you guys already went over it, would be an elevation angle, would be the same on every place on his sphere tard. But that's not true.
Didn't I just cover that like 2 seconds ago?
There'd be different elevation angles depending on where you're at on the Earth.
Yes, correct.
That. No, but
he's not meaning that. What's he meaning that?
I'm thinking he's meaning that the view you have of the face of the moon, the angles to it, the face you're going to see, is negligible difference wherever you are stood on the ball.
Adam, ever the apologist. No, he did not say negligible difference. He said will not change. And he's factually wrong.
It would be the same, he said.
He said virtually.
What angles are we talking
about? Did he say... Hold on, let's get to the bottom of this.
Did he say virtually? Which is why I thought it was going to bring in vibration.
Bastard. I've got to grit my teeth and now take it back from Adam. Okay, Adam, because he said virtually, you are correct.
I assume that's why he's going to work it in.
Say again?
One
of you go. One of you. Adam, go.
That's all I'm assuming from the way he's setting it up, because he's had to. Right, so to keep it on a ball, and to keep the moon a ball, he's got to take it to that massive difference. So the angles to the face of the moon that you're going to see are negated by the distance. That's what he's made in the claim there. There will be a difference, yeah, but it'll be negated because it's so far away. But that, to me, is what's semi-described as libration. Whether he gets there, I don't know. But that to me, I'm not being too mean to him there. He's only describing his model and the mathematical claim within that in terms of...
Rewind it.
Yeah. Okay, I will. We'll hear if we have the weasel word.
Most diagrams of the Earth and Moon, you will see them close together, like this. But this is not nearly the correct scale. When drawn to scale, we see that the Moon is way out in the distance, about 30 times the width of the Earth away. This is why we are able to see the same face of it from everywhere on Earth. At that distance, our angle of view is essentially the same from...
Bastard weasel words. Essentially. We'll let him off. Okay, shout out to James Richard. Correct me if I'm wrong. One cannot use scientific method to determine Earth's shape. You would have to vary and manipulate the Earth. You're half right with why it's wrong. it's a concrete noun. So, like with my daughter, if she'd have said tree, I see a tree, or is a tree something happening? If you said I didn't see it last week and now it's there, then maybe. But no, that's not a phenomenon. The Earth being spherical or flat is outside the purview of the scientific method because nothing's happening. First step, observe natural phenomena. Earth as a sphere. Okay. Number one, you'd have to actually observe that, which we don't. And number two, it'd have to be something occurring. So what's occurring? Nothing. It's just my presupposition Earth's sphere-shaped. Shapes aren't occurrences. Concrete noun. Thank you for the super chat, James Richard. Really appreciate the support.
Wait, but the Earth
okay.
is spinning, so that's a phenomenon.
You'd have to observe the Earth to be spinning for it to be an observed phenomena. It's only a phenomena if it's an observed phenomena. So to assume that we are on a non-inertial turning reference frame and the stars essentially remain stationary, even though they don't even in their model, and therefore the movement we observe is our rotation, that's a whole series of assumptive steps as opposed to fulfillment of the first step of the scientific method. Step one, observe natural phenomena. If you naturally observe Earth to be spinning, then fine. We don't. We can extrapolate it from the movements of the stars and then have it go wrong when you say, well, that makes us a non-inertial turning reference frame. Things would be drifting away from me. Oh, well, they do at 15 degrees an hour. Well, then Earth would have a effect on the flights. Oh, well, they don't drift away at 15 degrees an hour. We wouldn't expect to see it. Your reference frames are... That's the kind of shit we have to go through when it comes to them claiming something that we don't see naturally. We don't see Earth turning naturally, Neil. 118 people watching. Oh, we're on the border of maybe extending this live show. Smash that share button.
Well, while we're on this point, it's a key point to explain star trail photography, which I've done. So we've seen the time-lapse exposure and all the stars going around Polaris, right? So they're saying that's from axial rotation. But in reality, that is not true because they have not just axial rotation, they got the Earth orbiting the sun at 66,666 miles per hour. That comes to about 18.5 miles per second. So I bumped into my tripod before while doing this, and it just throws the whole star trails off. It blurs it out in the wrong direction. So this is evidence that we are not orbiting, and it's not axial rotation. It's the stars above that are moving over a stationary Earth. Everyone catch that?
Yes. Shout out to DJ One Deck, who's on the panel. He says, the globe is flat. It was measured like that. According to this, it now tells me when it's someone's first ever super chat. So thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Didn't think it was your first super chat, but there we go.
On Earth. How do we know it's that far away? Well, there are a number of ways to determine the distance to the moon. One way is by measuring the moon's angle above the horizon simultaneously.
Uh-oh. Angle above the horizon. So two straight lines with the horizon being used to establish a flat baseline. That's a flat Earth proof. See this? This isn't an angle. That's a straight line meeting a curve. So what's that you say? You used the horizon to establish a horizontal baseline for an angle? You just proved Earth's flat, Dumbo.
From two distant points on Earth. And then using simple trigonometry to calculate.
So using triangles that definitely won't have curves in them to calculate. Yeah, you're going to need a flat Earth for this. What an idiot.
Calculate the height. When this is done,
for this particular thing, he's going to need R, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, we covered that. But yeah, 115 people watching. It's going down. Looks like we're going to round out in about a minute. If we don't get another 10 people watching, smash the share button. You never know your luck. Might extend this live show a little bit.
The distance to the moon is calculated to around 239.
Calculated? So didn't you say measured a second ago? Measured off a flat plane, then calculated with R.
Yes, he did, sir.
9,000 miles. And this closely matches other modern methods of measuring the distance, including radar and lasers.
Radar and lasers, what with the return signal coming back from the lasers based on an R value assumption, again based on Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion and Venus having the same value as R for Earth, so that you can get the distance calculations based on the speed of light, and therefore the timing for the return signal to these laser apparently fired at the moon. Okay, well then you'd need the original assertion of the R value to give you your presumed timing distances to reference when they should return based on your assumptions. Notice how I concisely debunked every single aspect of this stupid crap that we can measure return signals from lasers based on heliocentric assumption of an R value, so we know when to look for the return signal. Yeah, it all falls apart when you haven't got an R value, my friend.
And also ancient methods.
Also, is invalidated by the fact that they can't agree what the return signal would look like, and they had to be told after they couldn't find it that this was it there for them to then nod and go. I think that's to do with the sun, but it's the same principle. Except, of course, we're not claiming that when we went to the moon. Well, we're claiming that when we went to the moon, we stuck some mirrors on the moon to help assist this measurement.
Joe has earned me over $200 today. Unbelievable. Just rags to riches sometimes in Flat Earth, I guess. Thank you very much indeed. And not that $200 is riches, but it is to me. I really appreciate all this support. I just want to shout out Goldie, just one sec. I'm super chatting because so many others are. Clearly, I can't think for myself. That's a fairly standard Flat Earth assumption there, Goldie. But I'm pretty sure you thought long and hard about that comment, and I'm really appreciative of it. Also, 10 more minutes, ? Says Skeptic936. As we are bordering on 120 people watching, I'm going to stay live until it drops. So yes, 10 more minutes. Indeedy do.
Skeptic is ace, Goldie is ace, and Tent is ace. Go ahead.
Yeah, Adam just said mirrors on the moon because that's what they said. Kiwi, didn't you say that they were bouncing signals before they even went to the moon?
Yes, 1961.
Who went up there in 61 for the mirror?
His sister.
Nobody went up there. But based on the same values and the same assumptions, they used to say that they'd bounce lasers off the moon before they went up with the retroreflectors. So just to expand on this story, after reading Rinsler's enormous super chat, I got big super chats today, $50. Thank you so much for all of these big super chats. I really do appreciate it. An observation, : chemtrails should have a visible curvature to them as they supposedly follow the curve from their altitude. Correct? ? They are always straight lines, without question. I expect such a thing from only an ascent or descent, not cruising. That's an awkward one, especially when you've paid $50 for it, because no, from your position, what you're witnessing when you see the plane come from the horizon to potentially your zenith, and then following out to the other horizon on the opposite side of your peripheral vision, isn't a straight line, is it? In the same way as you observe the stars, you can map them in a dome, which has then become the celestial sphere model. But that isn't because the stars are in a dome shape, and it isn't because the plane in this example with the chemtrail coming out of the back of it is moving from your vantage point in a straight line, because it does take an apparent curved path as it comes from the horizon in the distance to your zenith and then out to the horizon again. That isn't straight, is it? So I hate to do it to you, but I really appreciate all these massive super chats. Hopefully you're not irritated to the point where you won't super chat me ever again because I've corrected something you've said in it. But thank you very much for the support. Oh, well, that will be good because that'll...
Chat.
Go on.
I understand the point, and yes, they are. The only curve you're going to see is on the horizon as you get compression. But you will, I understand the point he's making. You will see a straight line. Now you will see an angular change in its altitude. Its elevation angle will increase as it comes to you, but that line will still be straight due to perspective. It'll be a perspective line because it's flying at the same altitude when it comes into vision as when it's over your head. So you get a straight line. But what he's saying is to maintain that altitude, it has to curve, because in the distance, you've got the curvature being expressed. So that the pilot has to curve the plane.
I see what you're saying now. So you're saying that even though, notwithstanding the fact that, yes, at the horizon, as it reaches a reasonable elevation, you will see a mild degree of curvature. But from that point, your own brain and vision and general understanding of how the world works will correct what you're seeing to appear straight, because it is assuming that it's maintaining the same level flight as it sprays out whatever it's coming out of the back of it. Okay, so based on that, we observe it to be straight. Fine, I'll accept that. Okay, with a lot of caveats. But if it was, as he's suggesting, actually traversing a curve, that would mean it would have to be following an 8 inches per mile squared descent around the curvature of the Earth to maintain level flight. Therefore, no matter which way you dice it, the apparent line that we see out of the back of that plane would be apparently curved. We'd see it as a curved line if the plane had to follow the curvature of the Earth. Correct, Adam?
Yeah, because it's not just coming in on a flat plane flying at the same altitude, therefore you only see perspective. It's mitigating for height change, and that height change is going to be relative to the curve and you, the observer. So you won't get a straight perspective line.
Couple more shout outs. Shout out to Sasha Unitox Femu, who's been a member for a hell of a long time, 29 months. Wow. At best, you only debunked radius. It's not quite an accurate quote, but that's a quote from Mr. Sensible. At best, you debunk the radius, is how we paraphrase it, and then he moans and says, you didn't add the rest of it. So I'll do that now. At best, you debunk the radius of the Earth. End quote, Mr. Sensible. Shout out to JMels24 also, who says, I don't understand any of this. I need 4 more hours. Maybe we'll see how we're getting on. Got 110 people watching. So maybe we'll round out in a couple of minutes. We'll see how we get on. Thank you for the super chats, everybody. Really appreciate all of this support. Don't know why I'm deserving of it today particularly, but thank you anyway.
Such as using lunar eclipse geometry. But since the method uses the horizon, the calculation works out quite differently if you assume the Earth is flat, because you then assume the horizon is the same in both locations. Well,
Whoa. No. Nobody's assuming that the horizon, a point of dissolution, is the same for 2 different observers. It's relevant only to your observation position and your own eyeballs as you look at it as an individual. However, both of these individuals seem to be having straight lines coming off a curve. So where it says horizon line, why on unholy hell would they be looking up here? Wouldn't they be looking at the physical geometric sphere edge obstruction at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet on a sphere? Isn't that what they'd be doing if they were on a globe, as opposed to acquiring 2 straight lines with a vertex to get an angle to the moon? You'll need a flat Earth for that. Yeah, both people need a flat Earth for that, because neither of them can get an angle from a curved surface. But what you say, they're using the horizon as a line? Yeah, that's strange, that, because that's where you get the word horizontal from. And you'll need that to get this angle. You'll need Earth to be flat to make this example. Okay, bonehead? Maybe let this bonehead know, obviously don't call him bonehead in your comment, that Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And why do we share these people who are obviously wrong and stupid and get promoted by YouTube anyway, given that this has had 230,000 views from somebody with a YouTube channel only the same as my own? Well, you have to let them know so that hopefully if they ever respond, they put a link to my video. So I afford myself some sort of algorithmic benefit when I'm making videos on YouTube and getting absolutely no promotion whatsoever. Not like I'm getting 230,000 views out of a video that's completely wrong and proves a flat Earth with its elevation angle measurements that utilise the horizon depicted out in space. Is this the horizon up here, Dumbo? Yeah, give him 230,000 views. Oh, 10th. Your time. Yeah, I got it, 10th. I got it. Yeah. Time 10th from my panel members is epic. What's this? Is this a triangle out to the horizon that gives you the elevation angle measurement to the sun? What kind of craziness is this? Yeah, that's the kind of nonsense we have to deal with. This is what YouTube gives 230,000 views to. Absurd nonsense that does not work in geometric terms. Earth has to be flat for this to work.
He's just hung himself, though, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Just to demonstrate, it's just Black Swan, mate. Just once again, you are telling me that the horizon is the leading edge of a ball. You're going to invoke refraction in a minute. So where this horizontal line, this tangent, whatever it has any validity, is nonsense, because you're claiming the horizon is the leading edge of a ball. Black Swan, my friend, that all falls apart, as pretty as the maths may be or not be. Doesn't matter. You're claiming the horizon is the leading edge of a ball.
Shout out to don't shoot. Let's try that again. Shout out to Don't Shoot the Messenger. He just gives me money. Really appreciate it. From a financial point of view, I'm going to keep the live show going. It'd be crazy not to.
While on the curved Earth, you need to compensate for the curve of the Earth between the 2 points. So, assuming a flat...
Sorry, the 2 points of the angle, we have to compensate. No, we don't. What compensation needs to be made when you're not utilising the spherical surface to get your angle? What you're saying, you're going to beg the question of the spherical surface that didn't give you the angle after you've took the angle from a flat plane? You need to make that assumption, do you? These are very devastating declarations that you're making, my friend.
Flat Earth puts the moon much closer, and flat Earth...
Again, he's going to need R, because what he's going to have to do is express the distance between A and B as a circumferential distance, express that as a percentage of R for him to then calculate that as an angle generated between A, the center of Earth, and observer B, so that he can then do this maths with his tangents that he's creating off of his surface. He has to have R to apply this, otherwise he just can't do it.
Well, what we also notice, although we aren't stupid enough to infer that something that moves across our vantage point with perspective and then eventually reaches the horizon and disappears, we wouldn't be so stupid as to assert that when it reaches the horizon, it's touching the ground. No, we understand that that's not the case, therefore making any of these angle measurements in reference to height invalid for flat earthers who may make it. You're not exampling it, but what you are showing with your diagram, if I could get the text to move off, I might actually rewind it and just play this diagram again so that you can see what he shows. What he shows is the horizontal baseline when assuming that we're going to get the height of the moon. No, we wouldn't do that. That's stupid. But we do show that both people in this orthographic representation have a flat baseline for their flat baseline for an angle. That actually works when the Earth is flat because it has to be to acquire the angle in the first instance. And that is how you will acquire it, for you to infer that the line along the base is actually curved when you've just taken a flat Earth elevation angle measurement to the moon with it. So let's watch how absurd an elevation angle measurement looks when it's on a curved surface. And let's compare that to how it looks when we then put it onto a flat baseline exactly as the angle has been measured. So let's have a little looky.
Curved Earth.
So here we are. We're looking at the absurdity of the globe Earth elevation angle measurement. And then, whoop, oh, what do you know? The flat baseline matches with the flat ground that you look at when you're looking at the horizon. Isn't that weird how it works when you take an angle from a flat plane and use the horizon to establish the baseline? And it doesn't work at all when you've got a curved surface to give you a straight line? Yeah, that's a total fail, isn't it, my friend? Meanwhile, yeah, we wouldn't be trying to get heights of something that moves towards the horizon as the day progresses, because obviously it's not touching the ground at that location. You can get its GP above that location, telling us without any doubt that it's not touching the ground. So therefore, taking angle measurements to it isn't going to give us its height. Nor is it going to be able to transpose into an R-based world where the line that you took for the angle suddenly bends.
Besides all the other evidence for the curved Earth, we know the moon cannot possibly be that close, due to the simple fact that
We don't claim it's that close. You can take an elevation angle measurement from a flat baseline to acquire the angle to the moon, and then you can take that even if it's beyond the horizon you see and infer where its GP position would be with its angle, if you've got an almanac. But that doesn't mean that it's reaching the surface or therefore you could get the height. In both instances, I might add. Yeah? I assume that when you measure it on a globe Earth, you're going to have the same problem. That is to say that if one person's measuring it at the horizon, that massively alters the angles off a flat plane, that you then insert the R value to, giving you the exact same problem. You know, that's strange because that actually happened. Sly Sparkane did exactly that. Yeah, took lots of flat Earth elevation angle measurements to the moon to infer that when inserting an R value it would work. And what do you know? A lot of the angles didn't work. Yes, because it's moving towards the horizon as the day progresses for certain people who took that angle off a flat Earth for Sly Sparkane. This Dumbo, how long's he been in this subject? Clearly he hasn't got any historic information, even from recent history, in terms of how this fails for the globe when you prove a flat Earth with the angle to it and then infer you can insert R into it.
Everyone on Earth always sees the same face of the moon when it is visible in the sky. If it were only 3,000 miles away...
We don't say it is, and neither can you, and the angle that was took proved a flat Earth and can be used for navigation, not to find the height.
That simply would not be possible. Let's look at an example on the flat Earth map to demonstrate this.
Right? No.
It slides behind the horizon.
That's not a flat Earth map. That was an azimuthal, equidistant, north-centric globe projection. Definitely not a flat Earth map that you're about to straw man us with. And like last time when you did this, I'll just say that any failings from this map are based on the fact that it's a globe projection. Maybe if it hadn't been projected from a globe, it wouldn't have failed. What's that? It's a flat Earth map. No, it isn't. No, it's a north-centric, azimuthal, equidistant globe projection. Yeah, to make the map work with the latitude and longitude lines in a certain way, in terms of the sun's movements in this case, with an azimuthal projection in the form of the Gleasons. But they're all globe projections. So if you're going to tell us how a globe projection fails, I'll just say it's the globe projection that's caused that. Given that the ephemeris and the celestial sphere, you don't need to convert those onto a globe to get them to work with navigation. You just take angles off a flat plane to do it. And Bob's your uncle. It works. That's work in a physical capacity. Has a practical application in terms of saving people's lives if they're lost at sea. Unlike talking about what the moon is. That doesn't have any practical application in terms of saving people's lives, that's for damn sure. But the angle to the moon and its GP location if you're lost, that definitely has a useful application. Yeah? You'll need a flat Earth to do it, though. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley programming streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, wow, thank you very much indeed for all the super chats, but this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, gifted memberships, received memberships, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's extended live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you are watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley programming streams. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!